What's going on, gang? Welcome back to the channel. My name's CJ. This is Out of Bounds, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at some more NBA single stat player props. We've got points, rebounds, and three-point makes all lined up for you today. Last night's video, well, out of our 8 picks, we went 4 out of 8, so that was 50%. Yesterday just turned out to be kind of a nutty day. A lot of the things that Vegas was liking in terms of, like, you know, the juice being on the over or the under didn't exactly pan out. And today's looking like a little bit of a nutty day so far as well. We've got big injury news that we're going to discuss, and we're going to take a look and see, you know, what makes sense here. Are we going over or under on these points, these rebounds, these three-point makes? We'll dig into it and help you hopefully make a more informed decision when you go to lock in some picks on PrizePicks or your favorite sports betting site. So, if this is your first time on the channel, definitely hit subscribe, turn on notifications. I'm going to warn you guys that it's going to become more imperative that you have notifications turned on. Why is that? Well, it seems like PrizePicks made a lot of adjustments based on yesterday's video. So if you don't have notifications turned on and you're not subscribed, you're going to probably miss out on some of these picks and lose that ever so lucrative edge that we all look for as players of daily fantasy sports and sports betting. All right, so with that out of the way, let's set a more challenging light goal because you guys just keep smashing. Anything that I put in the 30s, you guys are going over. So guess what? I'm going to make it even harder today. That's right. I'm going to go for 39.5, meaning you guys have to get 40 or more likes. I'm putting you to the challenge here. These videos, they get about 300 to 400 views typically, so I'm asking for about 10% of you to hit the like button. I think it's doable. I think we can definitely hit the over. So let's get into some of that injury news that I was talking about. First and foremost, we got Fred VanVleet, Toronto Raptors. He's going to be out tonight for Toronto. He is dealing with a hip recovery. Kyrie Irving is another big name that's going to be sitting out. Apparently, he's dealing with a groin injury. He's not going to be playing for the Nets tonight, so big boost to the likes of Kevin Durant, Jeff Green, Joe Harris. So no Kyrie Irving tonight. They're going to be playing a back-to-back, so maybe we'll see him in the next game. Luka Doncic, Dallas Mavericks elbow. He's downgraded to doubtful for Dallas, so he will not be taking on the Detroit Pistons tonight. No Luka Doncic. It looks like Kristaps Porzingis will step into that lead dog role, though, for the Dallas Mavericks. He was nursing an ankle injury, missed the last game, but Doncic is going to step out. Kristaps Porzingis is going to step in. So, cool little tag team they got going there in Dallas. Otherwise, what other news is notable here? Scrolling through the list, we've got DiVincenzo. He's been dealing with an Achilles issue. He's probable for Milwaukee on Thursday, so we should see Dante DiVincenzo in the lineup. Giannis Antetokounmpo dealing with an ankle issue. He's going to be probable for the Bucks on Thursday, so Giannis should be in the lineup for Milwaukee. Otherwise, not seeing a whole lot of impactful injury news, anything pertinent to today. Kelly Oubre, he's going to be missing today's game with a wrist injury, so I guess that one's pretty big. Avery Bradley out questionable for the Houston Rockets on Thursday. JJ Redick also questionable for Dallas on Thursday. There we go. Wayne Ellington's going to be out for Detroit. Josh Jackson is not listed on the Pistons' Thursday injury report. And I think I heard earlier that both Jeremy Grant and Mason Plumlee will both be out for Detroit as well, so that's pretty impactful news. Yeah, otherwise, just stay plugged into the news feeds, guys, because obviously news is going to be the one way that we can get an advantage. Let's say there's a projection up for somebody like Kyrie Irving, and they pull Kyrie Irving. He's listed as out for Brooklyn. Well, then immediately you should be jumping on guys like Kevin Durant, Joe Harris, Jeff Green, and taking some overs on those guys because they're going to step into more usage, more minutes, and so on and so forth. So definitely something to keep an eye out on if more players are ruled out tonight. So with that in mind, let's start talking about some of these props that I have lined up for you today. Doing things a little different. I really didn't see any assist props that stood out to me at the first glance on PrizePicks. So we're going to skip assists. We're going to go 4 deep on the points props. We're going to go 2 deep on rebound props. And then I'm going to finish things up with a 2-piece over on the 3-point makes. So let's start with points. And the first guy I want to talk about is Caris LeVert, who is taking on his former team, the Brooklyn Nets. And of course, they're going to be without Kyrie Irving, as we mentioned. So maybe Caris LeVert has a little bit of a softer matchup in this one, not having to face Kyrie. Maybe there's a chip on his shoulder. If you guys are into narratives, I try to stick to the numbers here, and that's how I typically present things in these videos. So we got Caris LeVert at 22.5 points. Based on the research I did earlier, to prepare for this video for you guys, I like him to go under. But let's look at the game totals first and foremost here. So the implied total for this game is 242 points. That could change with the Kyrie Irving news. I don't know if this is completely updated or not, but as of now, 242 implied points, a ton of points expected to be scored in this one. You got Indiana as a 5.5 point underdog at home. So not really a risk of blowout here. Looks like the game's going to be high scoring and stay close and competitive. So guys like Caris LeVert and company should get plenty of minutes. So with that in mind, let's look for Caris LeVert here on NumberFire, which is our reference site that we use. Totally free, by the way. You can go out and do all this little research that I'm showing you in today's video on your own if you have time. Now, if you don't have time, well, I offer a Patreon membership. I think I've got over 150, maybe 160 people who are members of the Patreon. It gets you access to some spreadsheets. It's basically an extension of everything that I do in this video. So if you like these picks that I put together in the video and you want more of them, I do more of that and put them all in a spreadsheet for you. And we got a couple other spreadsheets that some of our community members put together. We're talking first half fantasy points, first half single stat points, and we do some fantasy site-by-site comparisons. So different things to help you guys out, save you some time in terms of research and all that. Plus, we've got private Discord channels. If you're a patron, you get access to those, and we're always in there talking our favorite picks from sun up to sundown, basically. So there you go, shameless plug. Anyway, Caris LeVert at 20.2 points puts him quite a bit under 22.5, where he is set up to project on PrizePicks today and the various sports betting sites. So far, this is a step in the right direction if we're looking to take the under on Caris LeVert. Let's type in Mr. LeVert's name to NBA.com/players. And if you haven't been there yet, free site, obviously, NBA.com, pretty robust in terms of their stat research that you can do there. So his player card pops up, and you can see that for the season he is scoring at an 18.6 point per game average. So let's click his stats tab. We'll click traditional splits, and what we're going to do here is look at how he's been scoring in his last 5 games so we can get a better picture, because there's been some players that have been out for the Indiana Pacers over the last few games or more. Talking about Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner, and company. So things have changed a little bit. The dynamic on the team is different here for Indiana. So he's appeared in all 5 of the last 5 games, playing just over 30 minutes per game, almost 31 minutes. And in that time span, he is scoring 21 points per game, which is lower than 22.5 points per game. Oh, the PrizePicks board just updated. We've now got Detroit Pistons joining the mix. So, I'll definitely be including some of those in my my spreadsheet later. But anyway, Caris LeVert scoring under 22.5 points, both for the season averages and the last 5 games. So there you have it. Now, the next site and last site that we use to help us in our research is RotoWire. So we're going to type in Caris LeVert's name, and you can see that DraftKings Sportsbook does not have a points prop up for Caris LeVert. So we're going to move on over here and look at FanDuel. Now, FanDuel, they've got him at 21.5, and at 21.5, people are taking the over. But keep in mind, he's at 22.5 over on PrizePicks. So 21.5, yeah, probably looking good here for the over. And he's at 21.5 on all sports books. So if he scores 22 points, which is kind of where things seem to be setting up for him, we're in good shape. 22 points or less is where we want him to be if we're looking to take the under here. So I think I'm going to stick with it. It's a little risky, especially if you believe in narratives. Maybe Caris LeVert comes out playing with extra added motivation and puts on a show against the Brooklyn Nets. But again, I'm more of a numbers guy, not a narrative guy. If you believe in narratives, though, then I think there's a little bit of an argument that could be made for going over on Caris LeVert and 22.5 or 21.5 points. Definitely over on the 21.5 points. The 22.5 points, a little bit more risky if you ask me. All right, so with him out of the way, let's talk the next guy. We've got Karl-Anthony Towns, Minnesota Timberwolves center. They're taking on the Golden State Warriors. That game tips off at 8:10 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. I'm located here in Florida, in case you were wondering. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the game totals and the spread for this one. We've got 234 implied points, and then we've got Minnesota as +4, meaning they are 4-point underdogs at home against this Golden State Warriors team. So the game is pretty high scoring from the looks of things, and the spread is close, meaning all these guys should play a full run of minutes. Now, I got Karl-Anthony Towns going under 26.5 points, so let's do the research together and see what we land on here. We got him at 25.6 projected points according to our friends over at Numberfire, so that puts him under 26.5, so that's a good first step in the right direction if we're looking to take the under here. So let's type in Karl-Anthony Towns' name. We will control click or command click if you're on a Mac, and up pops his player card. Now for the season, he is scoring at a 24.8 point per game average, which puts him a couple points under here, almost 2 whole points under 26.5. So we just need him to have an average game or worse in this situation. That's what we're hoping for. So we're going to change this now from all season to just the last 5 games, because we want to get a better idea of how he's been performing in just his last 5. So in that time span, he's playing just under 35 minutes per game, and you can see he's at 25.6 points per game, which puts him under 26.5. So his season averages and his last 5 game averages are both under 26.5 points, which is a very good sign since we are looking to take the under here on Karl-Anthony Towns, the guy with 3 names. Let's type his last name in here to RotoWire, and you can see that his name pops right up. And the different sports books have him up at 26.5 across the board here. So DraftKings not really seeing any action over or under. FanDuel, people are actually taking the under there. He's a -114. BetMGM has him as a -120 to go under 26.5. And last but not least, -125 on PointsBet to go under as well. So based on the averages for the season, the 5 game averages, how the juice is flowing here over on RotoWire, I am going to say that I'm sticking to my guns and taking the under on Karl-Anthony Towns in this particular matchup. The only thing that is a little worrisome is the fact that this game is so high scoring and the spread is so close, meaning that there will be a lot more points scored and that the game should stay close and competitive. So that's the only knock against this play, in my opinion. So with him out of the way, let's talk about a guy from the other side of this game. We're talking Kevon Looney, who is at 7.5 projected points over on PrizePicks. And again, they're taking on Minnesota. So let's start over. We'll go back to Numberfire. We'll type in Looney's name. Now, call me a loony or call me sane, but I'm looking to take the under here on Kevon Looney. At 7.4 points, he is a shade under 7.5. Although it is close, this is definitely not a sure bet. So based on the projections, he's just a slight under from what I'm seeing here. So let's move ahead here. We'll go over to NBA.com, type in his name, and we'll take a look at his season average for scoring. Now, as you can see, this guy is not a scorer. He is a role player. He's a rebounder, a defender, but a scorer, he is not. 3.9 points per game. He's just barely outscoring me, and I don't even play in the NBA, so you can see how bad of a scorer he is. Let's click on his 5 game averages here and get a better idea of how Looney's been scoring over the last handful of games. See if that number goes up or goes down. Now, he's appeared in all 5, playing over 26 minutes per game, and his points per game in that time, 4.6. So yes, they have went up, but they have not went up a whole lot. 4.6 points per game, much lower than 7.5 points. Now, we did mention Kelly Oubre is going to be out. I don't know that that impacts this guy all that much, to be honest with you. So I'm going to stick with it. So far, I'm still feeling good about the under on Kevon Looney. Now, last but not least, we're going to check out all the sports books and see which way the juice is flowing here on Looney. You got him at 7.5 across 2 of the sites, and then you got him at 6.5 across the other 2. So at 7.5, we'll just stick to looking at those for this video. He's a -134 to go under over on DraftKings and a -134 to go under 7.5 points on FanDuel. So you could see that from those two sites, they do like him to go under 7.5, meaning they think he's going to score 7 or less points. Now, just as a reference piece here, you could see that on BetMGM, they've got him at 6.5, and PointsBet also has him at 6.5. Now, there they are betting the over. So, what's in between 6.5 and 7.5? Well, that's 7 points. So if he scores 7 points or less, like he's implied to based on the way that the action's moving on these different sports books, we will do just fine here on PrizePicks by taking the under on Kevon Looney. I'm sticking to it. This is actually looking like a very good play in my opinion. All right, and the next guy we're going to talk about is someone who I have tremendous difficulty pronouncing his name, and that is Aleksej Pokusevski, or AP or Poku for short. So that's what I'm going to refer to him as. Now we got Poku at 11.5 points, so let's take a look and see where he is projected today over on Number Fire. We'll type in his name here. And there you go, guys. He's at 10.4 points, leading me to believe that going under on him makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm trying to think back here. Previous days, I've had him on our spreadsheet that I've put together for the Patreon folks. And I believe he's been under on a lot of those days. And I believe that he has been consistent in going under this 11.5 point mark. But my memory could be bad. So let's take a look at the game totals real quick of this one. Of course, we got OKC. They're taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. So let's slide on over here. You can see this game is implied for 231.5 points. Pretty high total here, but big red flag is the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder are 9.5 point underdogs. So it's a little worrisome. It's a little troubling to see that. There could be a blowout here. Now, does Poku get benched in a blowout? I'd probably say no, since he's such a young player. He's probably going to get a pretty good run of minutes here, unless he's dealing with some kind of little nagging injury or they got somebody on the bench that they want to evaluate. Otherwise, I think he plays for the entirety of this game. So with those things in mind, let's move ahead here. Let's look at the averages for both the season numbers, the last 5 games, and see how this man has been scoring the basketball. Now you can see that for the season, 7.6 points per game is quite a bit under 11.5. So that is a great thing. We love to see that, especially since we're targeting the under here. So now that we know that, we're going to look at his last 5 games and see if that number goes up or goes down. So from 7.6 points, he goes down. No, he actually maintains 7.6 points. Wow, you don't see that all too often. So no real change here. His season averages, 7.6 points, have maintained over his last 5 games at 7.6 points, which again is a great sign for us as we are looking to take the under on Poku. So with those things in mind, we can move over to RotoWire. We'll type in Mr. Pokusevski's name. Now, DraftKings doesn't appear to have a points prop up for him, nor does BetMGM, but the two sites that do, FanDuel at 11.5 and PointsBet at 11.5, both sites are favoring the under. Minus 118 under over on FanDuel and a minus 120 under over on PointsBet. So guys, I don't see any red flags. I don't see anything that's making me too worried here. Yeah, the game is kind of implied for a lot of points. OKC is projected to get blown out here, but I'm not backing down. I'm not backing off of this. I think Pokusevski or Aleksej, however you say his name, I like the under here on him at 11.5 points. Now, while we're talking about him, I mentioned I don't have any assist props to discuss. We're going to talk about his rebound props as well. So while I do like him to go under 11.5 points, I am thinking that we should go over on his rebounds because that's where he kind of contributes for this OKC squad presently. So he is at 4.5 rebounds. Let's take a look at his rebound props over on the various sites. We've already got his name pulled up here. So I'm going to change this back to all games so we can look at his season averages. Actually, no, I don't even have to do that because they're right here. So for the season, he is pulling down 4.6 rebounds per game, which puts him slightly over 4.5. Meaning if you think about 4 rebounds, 5 rebounds, more often than not, he's on the 5 side of things, and not so often is he on the 4 side of things. So that is looking good. I've already got his 5-game averages pulled up here where he's playing in all 5 of those games. And during that time span, his rebounds are at 3.4. So they're actually lower in his last 5 games than they are for his season averages. So that is a little bit of a red flag, a little knock against taking the over on Pokusevski. But what I will say is that with the amount of points that should be scored in this game here, that there's going to be more shots going up, which means more rebound opportunities. That's right. You got it. So hopefully he can pull down some extra boards. He's a big, tall guy. I think he can do it. But who cares what I think? Let's see what the various sports books think. Again, we don't have anything up for DraftKings or BetMGM, but both FanDuel and PointsBet have him up at 4.5 rebounds. Now over on FanDuel, minus 118 to go over. That is a good sign. But an even better sign of things, hopefully, is the fact that he's a minus 130 to go over here on PointsBet. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything that is going to sway me or deter me from taking the over on Pokusevski's rebounds at 4.5. As long as it stays at 4.5, I feel pretty comfortable about taking the over. So there you have it. All right, the next one that I want to talk about is going to be Anthony Edwards. While we're on the topic of rebounds, we got Anthony Edwards at 5.5 boards. I think I'm looking to take the under here on Anthony Edwards. So let's go back here to Number Fire and look for Anthony Edwards real quick. Oh, and while I'm here, I don't think I talked about Pokusevski's rebound projection. He's at 5.5 rebounds. So even more of a reason to take the over on him today. So there you have it for him. Let's type in Edwards' name. Anthony Edwards is at 5.4 boards, which puts him a slight under versus the 5.5 rebounds that he's at over on PrizePicks and all the different sports books. So far the under looking like a good direction to go here. So let's type in Anthony Edwards' name. We will open up his player card here. And for the season, he's rebounding the ball at a 4.6 rebound per game average. So that is quite a bit lower than 5.5. We just need him to be at 5 boards or less. And there's more player props populating here on PrizePicks as we are shooting this video. So definitely going to be adding more names to the spreadsheet that I've already started for tonight. So let's look at Anthony Edwards in his last 5 games and see if his rebound numbers are going up or going down versus this 4.6 season average. And they are going up. So although we're looking to take the under, his rebounds are actually trending upwards. So he's at 6.4 rebounds per game, which it's a little bit of a knock against wanting to go under on Anthony Edwards here. Let's be real. But we're going to go back to RotoWire. We're going to type in Anthony Edwards' name. And let's look at the different sports books here. Now they got him at 5.5 boards over on DraftKings. He's a minus 134 to go over. Now over on FanDuel, minus 118 to go over 5.5 boards. BetMGM, not seeing any juice over or under. And this one is the one that caught my eye. The fact that over on PointsBet at 5.5 rebounds, he is a minus 130 to go under. So here's what's working for Anthony Edwards in terms of the under. You got PointsBet. One of the sports books has him as a pretty big favorite to go under at minus 130. You got his projections for the day set up at 5.4 rebounds, and that is under 5.5, meaning we could assume that he is going to be closer to 5 rebounds and less close to the 6 rebound number. But working against him, the totals are pretty high in this game. Also working against him, the other sports books don't agree that he's going to go under 5.5 rebounds. We got 2 of the sports books saying that he'll go over. So this one's a little murky. It's a little cloudy. Also, the other thing working against him is the fact that in his last 5 games, the recent sample size that we looked at, he's been going over 5.5 boards. So this one is tough. And when things look tough or they don't look very clear, I probably would just fade. But if my research and my information that I've put forth for you today leads you to take the over or leads you to take the under, well, by all means, go with what you think will happen here. I think I'm going to probably fade that one, though. So I'm going to cross him off because it's just not looking clear enough for me. All right, but while we're talking Anthony Edwards, we're going to move over to the 3-point category here. And I think I'm looking to take the under on Anthony Edwards and his 3-point makes at 2.5. I'm looking to take the under. I think he goes for less than that. So let's take a look and see what his season averages for 3-point makes and attempts, because attempts are a big part of it too. So we can see that for the season, he's attempting 7.1 3-point attempts per game. And on those attempts, he's making 2.3, which is less than 2.5. So that is a good first step in the right direction here. Now we're going to change the season segment to the last 5 games, click run, and see what happens. All right, so you can see that his 3-point attempts are up to 9.4 versus his season averages. And during that time, he is making 2.6, which puts him slightly over this 2.5 3-point mark here against Golden State. So it's a little dicey. I'm not too scared off by that, but let's look at the various sports books here on Anthony Edwards and get a better idea, better feel of how the numbers are looking here. So on DraftKings, not seeing any action over or under. On FanDuel, they've got him as a minus 122 to go over 2.5 3-point makes and a minus 104 to go under. So definitely favoring the over on FanDuel. Now BetMGM, no point prop or 3-point prop up for him there. But on PointsBet, they've got him at minus 120 to go under. So you can see that it looks like across the industry here for both Anthony Edwards and his rebounds and his 3-point makes that there's a little bit of uncertainty, we'll call it. You see that some of the sites have him going one way, some of the sites have him going another. So if you got a hunch here on Anthony Edwards and you think you can figure this out, well, you can see all the information I've presented for you. Take what you think is right. This is just not looking super clear on either one of these props for Anthony Edwards. So there you have it. Now, the last guy we're going to talk about is actually featured on the other side of that Minnesota Golden State Warriors game. And I'm talking about Steph Curry, who's at 5.5 3-point makes. Now, we know Steph Curry is probably the greatest shooter in NBA history. If you agree or disagree, leave a comment down in the comment section below and tell me why. But I think he's the best shooter in NBA history. And at 5.5 3-point makes, I'm looking to take the over in this situation here. So let's back things up to NBA.com. We will type in Steph's name, and you can see his brother comes up. We're not talking about him, although he did have a good night last night for the 76ers in their blowout of the Hawks. We're talking Steph Curry. Man, he's having a great season, huh? So we click on traditional splits. We look at his season averages. Now, on the season, he attempts 12 3-pointers per game. That is a huge number. Now, on those 12 attempts, he makes 5.1 threes per game. I think I've got a feeling that this number will probably go up when we go and look at his last 5 games. Let's do that now. All right, so over his last 5 games, his 3-point attempts have went up to 12.6 from 12, and his makes are actually up to 5.6. So yes, things are trending in the right direction. His 3-point attempts and 3-point makes are both going up, which is exactly what we want to see because we are looking to take the over on this 5.5 3-point make number. Seems like it's been like his 3-point makes have been down in the last couple of games. This could be one of those situations against a very bad Minnesota Timberwolves backcourt where he just absolutely goes bonkers and launches a ton of threes. Don't forget, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw this narrative out there for all you narrative fans. Back when Steph Curry was drafted, if you remember, the Minnesota Timberwolves passed up on Steph Curry for the likes of Ricky Rubio, Johnny Flynn. Do you think that perhaps Steph Curry remembers that night and remembers getting passed up for 2 inferior point guards? Back-to-back picks, 2 point guards taken ahead of Stephen Curry by the same team. This Minnesota Timberwolves team. I'm just throwing it out there, guys. I think that he could possibly just go absolutely nuclear and look to destroy Minnesota from beyond the arc tonight. All right, that's enough for the narrative stuff. Oh, and by the way, he's going to be facing off against Ricky Rubio, the guy that was taken ahead of him. Just saying. Anyway, DraftKings, they've got him at 5.5 3-point makes. minus 120 to go over. FanDuel, they've got him at 5.5 3-point makes, minus 122 to go over. BetMGM, 5.5, minus 118 to go over. And then finally, PointsBet, not seeing any action over or under. But guys, I'm sticking to it. I am staying with Steph Curry to go over 5.5 3-point makes. I think he looks to destroy the team that passed him up in the draft and destroy the guy that they drafted ahead of him in Ricky Rubio. And by the way, the other guy, Johnny Flynn, he hasn't been in the NBA in quite some time. There you have it for today's video, guys. 8 picks. Hopefully we do better than 4 out of 8 like we did in yesterday's video. You guys leave a comment below. Let me know what picks you're liking, which ones maybe you're not. Is there any picks that I didn't talk about that you're really, really excited about? Leave them down in the comment section below. Maybe you'll help somebody out tonight. Maybe you'll help me out. You know, I can only do so much research as one guy. But good luck tonight. And if you're playing on PrizePicks, let's try to hit a 10x, man. That would be nice, huh? 10 times your money. You got to put in a 5-pick flex or a 4-pick power play to hit that 10 times on your entry fee. Good luck tonight. This is CJ for Out of Bounds. Till the next one, guys. Peace.